Hey everyone, just want to encourage you to find us on your listening platform and give us a rating. Anywhere you listen to that has a rating system, go on over and give us a rating and maybe leave us a review. Let us know your thoughts. These ratings really do help. Thank you so much for listening. On to this week's episode. Rolando, would you consider yourself a fan of Roald Dahl?
No.
Yeah.
Although I read The Glass Elevator. It's fine.
Wow, I don't even know what that is.
That's a sequel to Willy Wonka and Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Oh, right, the glass. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've seen Willy Wonka. Now it makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't say that I've ever read any of his books.
No.
I guess they don't speak to me.
Okay. That's fine. You're not a British child, so.
Yeah, they're only available in England, so.
I mean, I feel like only the British children relate.
That's interesting. That's an interesting theory. Let's love to hear some audience feedback on that one. Mm-hmm. But I'm familiar with a lot of the movies though, and a lot of the movies, they're hit or misses for me, I guess. And this is about actually only the second time we're covering a Roald Dahl adaptation, I believe, because we haven't done Wonka yet.
Wait, what's the first? We'll be doing it this year.
Witches.
Oh, that's Roald Dahl. Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, so this is our second time, and we're gonna take
and there'll be a third this year.
There will be a third this year. Yes.
I can't believe it.
Too much Roald Dahl for my taste. But yeah, we're doing 1996 film Matilda, a 90's classic, and the new Netflix musical that's titled Roald Dahl's Matilda the Musical. I think that's the official title. Pretty long.
Lovely.
Yeah. Let's just get right to it. I'm Nicole.
And I'm Rolando.
And this is Remakes, Reboots, and Revivals.
An original podcast
about unoriginality. All right, well, Happy New Year. Welcome to the first ever episode of 2023 for Remakes, Reboots, and Revivals.
All right. How exciting.
So exciting.
FYI, everyone. You guys may hear the puppy. He is a whiner. And he is very boisterous. So if you hear him in the background, apologies.
Yes, and you might hear my cat snoring in the background because he's loud. I think he has a nose problem because he snores very loudly. Yes. But yeah, 2023. How has your new year been so far?
It's been fine. I think we spent a lot of time bonding with the new pup, and that was great. What else? I got to binge. Oh, we're in the process of watching it. A few episodes day by day. But this show called The Glory on Netflix.
Never heard of it.
So it's a Korean drama. It's a revenge drama, my kinds of dramas. And it's great. It's just this this woman, when she was a teenager in high school, was just mercilessly bullied. And now, like, I think 15 years later, she's enacting her revenge on her bullies.
Oh wow!
And it's great. I love a good like revenge story, like Revenge. The ABC show is one of my favorite shows, the first season, and this is like the spiritual successor to it.
Yeah,
and I kind of low key I have issues with the show because I don't know if this is just Korean filmmaking, but the editing is a little all over the place, and like they go back in time and flash forwards and all this stuff, and it kind of does drive me a little crazy. Where I kind of wish, okay, if they ever make this is a show that's like ready for an American remake. And if they ever remake this, I would just love to see what either Netflix or like HBO, someone else does with it, to make it just a little bit more palatable for American audiences, just a little bit. But it's so good. It is so good. It also reminded me that we have a Korean remake coming out this year. The Train to Busan is Train to New York. That's coming out this year.
Is that really? Who's in it?
I don't know any major actors in it, but I know it's like a major. It's gonna be like an actual Hollywood release.
Is there? I don't know if it's in theaters.
Don't know if these are questions that I don't know. I didn't just announce it. I only learned about it from the TikToks that I follow, like, movies to like keep an eye out for this year. Train to New York is one of them. It's like the American remake of Train to Busan.
Well, then that'll be an episode I look forward to.
Have you seen Train to Busan?
Not yet. But I am putting it off because I know I'm gonna like love it.
You think?
No, it's
I
really
think
good.
so.
I enjoy it. I think it's a wonderful film, especially for a zombie film. I'm curious. I already have bets with Eddie as to like how I expect the American remake to go, like for the ending.
Okay.
So yeah, because once I found out, because I had heard that they were gonna make an American remake of the film. I just didn't know that it's like this year that's gonna come out. So I was just like, oh, I know exactly how they're gonna Americanize the ending.
Oh my gosh! As long as Brad Pitt's not in it, I'll be fine.
No, I don't think he is in it. Let me see if there's any news on it. But how about you? What have you been?
Well, my foot's still in a cast, so taking it very slowly and surely. But other than that, just same old. Not much. It's actually interesting because with you talking about this revenge show that you're watching, it's kind of a good segue into the Matilda property, because if you think about it, Matilda is all about revenge. And that is one of the core themes that I think happens in this piece here. And, obviously full disclosure, not talking about the books, not here to review the books, just here to review the two movie properties. And if you are a Roald Dahl lover, I apologize in advance because we don't really know anything about him, and we're not going to go into that. But
didn't we confirm that he was racist?
At
least anti-Semitic, or that's what I found out in the research while doing research. For
yeah,
this movie,
I think one of those is true, and I'm leaning towards anti-Semitic, but
anti-Semitic, and I think there's anti-blackness also that he has been attached to.
I mean, I hate to say this, but I'm gonna say it anyway. People back then were so casually racist. It's just like they just hated it because it was in fashion and it was in vogue. Like,
I don't know if it was just in fashion and vogue. I mean, maybe. But
I'm reading a lot of like literature of the time. It's just like, wow, everyone is casually racist. Like, Eddie, remember when we read that Ernest Hemingway book and the way that opened up with the character
Ernest Hemingway
Robert Kahn?
He's notoriously racist, though.
They all were. It was just like back then, like it was just a casual thing to be racist against at least one person. How times have changed for the better in that way. So
I don't know. What are you talking about? like, oh, you're right. Instead of being racist, now you're just transphobic. J.K. Rowling.
Well, I was gonna say, most people aren't anything, but yeah, let's put out a bad example for sure. Although I don't know if okay. So Matilda, did you grow up on this movie?
Yes, actually, I did.
I did too. I had the VHS.
I actually saw it in theaters, I'm pretty sure.
I think I did too.
Yeah, but that's so funny. That's exactly the same reaction I have. Like, I feel like I saw this in theaters. I'm like almost certain I did, but I could be. I maybe just saw it so many times at home that I was just like, maybe I didn't.
That's 100% me. I saw it a bunch of times. I remember this VHS vividly. It was definitely a worn out one for me.
Eddie Z, this is your first time back since the
incident,
the holidays, the incident. What is it?
My lawyers told me not to disclose any information.
Did you grow up with this film?
I didn't per se grew up with it. I know I kind of saw this later on.
Oh.
And I think it just happened to be when you have nieces and nephews, you end up watching these things.
Yeah.
So
I can see that.
True. Yeah. Eddie, I guess was this like a little like after your childhood? Maybe were you like too old for it when it came out?
I don't think I was too old for it. I just maybe.
Yeah. Maybe. Because, I mean, I was like 8 or 9 when this came out. So I do think I was like the perfect age. Rolando, you must have been like 9, 10.
I think 9.
Yeah.
I think 9 when the movie came out.
And the main actress was like famous for like Mrs. Doubtfire. And also Stuart Little, right?
I think so.
But Stuart Little came out way after this, didn't he?
That's the thing. Like, I was like, oh yeah, and she was in Mermaids, and and I was like, nope, that's Christina Ricci. Miracle on 34th Street.
Yes, she was on the remake.
Yes. So, yeah, early 90s, early to mid 90s. I mean, she was like I was the same age as her practically, you know, so she was just like, wow, this kid is so cool getting to be in all these movies. And it's so funny because doing the research, you know, Matilda was not successful.
Like when it came out initially?
Yeah.
Really?
It did not do well at the box office. It barely took in what it, like, so the budget was 36 and made 33 million. So it was not very successful.
That's wow. I saw this movie so much that I would have thought like everyone's seen this movie, right? Like this was
Yeah. I think this is one of those films that, you know, really picked up with its second life on home video.
Uh-huh.
And
yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
So maybe I didn't see it in theaters.
Yeah.
Maybe. Like the odds are now against me.
Yeah. And did you know that Danny DeVito not only produced this through his company Jersey Films, but he directed it?
So I learned a lot about Danny DeVito after rewatching this film for the podcast.
Yeah.
First of all, being he directed this film. I didn't know that. I knew that he was in it and he was a narrator, but I did not know that he directed the film.
Yep.
But nor did I know that he's from Jersey.
Yeah. You didn't know he's from Jersey?
I didn't know he's from Jersey.
Yep. And
Neptune. That's why they had that little nod to Asbury Park in the.
Yes, I know. When I saw that this time, I was like, "Oh my god!" I mean, he loves. I guess he's very proud of it. Like he calls his company Jersey Films. That's pretty huge. So
what
yeah.
else have you done? Like
as a filmmaker?
Well, yeah. Has he directed anything else?
Well, let's look into that right now.
I know very little. I know Danny DeVito, like, his roles, but I don't really know anything, and that he's married to Rhea Perlman, but I don't really know much about him.
Yeah, actually, he's directed, I can't believe I forgot this, he's directed quite a few movies. He directed the movie Throw Mama Off the Train, which is a comedic remake of Strangers on a Train. It's with him and Billy Crystal.
Okay.
The War of the Roses with Michael Douglas and Kathleen Turner, where they're, like, a couple who, like, have a really bitter falling
Divorce?
Out. Yeah, well, not even. They're still married, and they but they live together and they hate each other. I think. Okay. I believe so. Anyway, Death to Smoochie.
Oh, he directed that one?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Wow, interesting. Actually, I'm like, I like it and I don't like that movie. Yeah. I do like the performance from Robin Williams.
You know, it's been years, so I can't even speak to it. I have to pretty much say I haven't seen it at this point. He directed Duplex with Drew Barrymore and Ben Stiller.
Wow, okay. That's another movie that I know about, but I don't think I've ever seen it.
His last movie he directed is it's actually a short film called Curmudgeons. And actually his last big film would be Duplex. So he's only directed a handful, less than 10. And, you know, it's so interesting, like, thinking of specifically, like, Matilda and Death to Smoochie, like, you could actually see that the same filmmaker made those two movies and kind of like in their outlandishness and stuff. So that's the thing, like, he doesn't really, the nice thing about Danny DeVito is that he does not take himself seriously.
No.
And that reflects in his choices, in his overall, like, personality as an actor, you know, ranging from his work in the 80s to It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Yeah, I mean, Danny DeVito's always just been, like, around with, like, Batman Returns.
Which was, talk about a great role.
Talk about, like, yeah, like, really transforming himself there. Like, I just feel like Danny DeVito's always showed up in something I've been watching, and I've never really thought too much about him. But I learned quite a lot about him as well when I read this. Like, in contrast to the characters that they play in this movie, apparently they grew quite attached to Mara Wilson, who plays Matilda, because during the production of this film, her mother passed away from breast cancer.
Wow.
And, yeah, and they, like, took her in and, like, grew a really, really close friendship with her. You know, almost like having her over their house and everything. So,
I didn't know that.
I mean, that's rough.
I feel like, I think I know someone who knows Mara Wilson, but I could be mistaken about that.
Oh.
And I feel like it was someone in our circle of friends, but maybe it could be from me and Eddie's circle of friends from the city who, like, frequently hung out with her. And I would ask Eddie right now, but he is cleaning up an oopsie daisy from the dog, so. So maybe he could confirm later.
But yeah, this movie, it stars Danny DeVito, Rhea Perlman, Mara Wilson as Matilda, and in supporting roles, Beth Davids and Pam Ferris. And essentially, this movie is about a young girl named Matilda She's a child prodigy with quite a brilliant mind and a knack for reading and just incredibly perceptive, but she is abused and underappreciated, I would say, by her family and almost by almost every adult in her life, to the point where she actually develops psychokinetic abilities. And she kind of uses it to not only, save herself from the prison of her own mind, but other people who are being bullied into corners as well. That's essentially what both of these properties are going to be about. So,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like really, really, being as thin as we can. I hadn't seen Matilda in years, probably 15 years. So watching it for the first time in that long, it was just like, wow, so many memories, and yet so much I didn't remember.
Right. Well, did you watch them out of order, or did you watch them in order as you usually do?
I usually watch them first, original first, remake second. So I watched Matilda from 1996 first, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no, I did it in the reverse order as I usually do.
As you usually do.
And because there were things that happened in the remake that I was just like, I don't remember that happening in the book. Like, I don't remember Matilda being mischievous. And then I watched this movie, I'm just like, oh, I guess she was a little bit. Like, you know what I mean? Like, enacting revenge. So she wasn't committing revenge, per se, on her parents. And even on Miss Trunchbull, I would argue that the story is not about revenge. It's about punishing. All right?
It's like that line in the beginning, when people are bad, you gotta punish them, not just children.
Exactly, and not just so, as that was a lesson that she learned from her father.
But wouldn't you argue that revenge is a form of punishment?
No, it's not.
You don't think so?
I don't think. I think punishment can be a form of revenge, but I don't think
revenge is a form of punishment.
Right. Does that make sense? No, or maybe I'm thinking the reverse. I don't because basically, like, it's not. When you're punishing someone, you're not necessarily seeking revenge from them. You're punishing them to hopefully teach them a lesson.
Yeah.
Right? When you're enacting revenge, I don't think the lesson could be damned. It's about getting even. It's about, eye for an eye on that one, right?
Yes.
It's not, when I'm like looking for revenge on someone, it's not because I want them to never do this again. Is because I want them to hurt.
Yeah, you want them to hurt. You want them to suffer.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
So then,
I think punishment is just like a punishment. I think the idea of a punishment is like, yes, this is going to suck, but like you should learn something from this. At least that's what a proper punishment should be.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess then it would be, by that logic, then revenge would be a form of punishment, but punishment is not a form of revenge because punishment is separate.
Okay, there you go.
Right. And you're right. It is more about kind of like learning lessons. To say, I don't know. Well, I mean, there's a lot that goes on, and it's an interesting message. It's like, after I watched both films, I'm like, okay, kind of trying to think about what it is I'm really supposed to be taking away from this. So maybe we can talk it out. But, Matilda, from the moment she's born, is not wanted. And she's put into, like, the back seat and treated terribly in the first film.
And forgotten about in the car.
Which I
think is illegal nowadays. You can't even keep a dog in the car. So.
And immediately...
I can imagine keeping a baby.
Yes, yeah. Immediately, though, this film takes a very humorous approach to this type of child neglect that she receives from, like, the moment she leaves the hospital. With the music cues and just like with the way that they film everything, like he does this great trick too where everything seems larger than life, so like the carriage that she's in the car, when it's like going back and forth, it's like it's a huge car that she's going back and forth in between to show just kind of like the dangerousness, so like he kind of overemphasizes everything. It's somewhat expressionistic if we want to really get to labels there, which is actually, I really appreciated upon this rewatch. She also has a brother in this movie, which she doesn't have in the musical, but she has a brother who the parents prefer, just downright. And because he's more like them. From like the moment she comes of age, maybe 2, 3, 4, she just has no interest that they do. And their interests, are living lavishly in their definition of that and watching TV.
I was gonna say I don't think they live gaudy.
They live gaudily. There you go.
But they don't live lavishly, I would say. And it's so, her style is so like what you imagine like 90's Jersey housewives.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, at least the old school one.
God, Rhea Perlman was so good in this movie.
She was. I think my favorite is when they're like, she's like, I'm 6, I should go to school. They're like, no, you're not, you're 4.
Right, where they just have no idea what her age is.
Like, they have no idea, yeah.
I'm not even going to front. Like, I feel like me as a parent will probably constantly forget my child's age. My dad used to forget me and my sister's ages, like, constantly.
Really?
I think it's like a family thing. Yeah, it's not like, and at no point did I ever feel unloved by him. It's just like,
it happens.
Forget.
Yeah.
It's just like, how old are you? No, you're not 13. It's denialism, right? You're not 13, because that would mean I'm this age now.
True. Yeah, life isn't moving that fast. Well, yeah, but in this case, they are child neglectors, and they didn't put her in school, even though she clearly should be, because all she does is read books, much to their chagrin.
Well, I think part of the reason that they didn't want to keep her in school, though, in the 1996 film, is because he was getting constantly delivery of...
Yeah, who's going to pick up the packages?
Yeah, like constant deliveries of like illegally stolen parts.
Yeah, he's a used car salesman.
He's a shoddy car salesman.
And proud of it.
Yeah, teaching his daughter is just like, this is how you get ahead. He says this great line that I think so resonates. It's just like, how do you think all rich people got ahead?
Yeah, it's true.
Right?
It's
because
true.
It's just like, there's no billionaires that made their money ethically. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and he pretty much teaches her from a young age, too. Like, I guess she talks back once, and he's like, when someone is bad, they should be punished. And then, therefore, she learns that, when someone's bad, they should be punished, which takes in the whole thematic content of the whole story. So she slowly starts to punish her father secretly. She, messes with his hair tonic, glues his hat to his head, all out of whenever he's being a dick to her and just not being the father that he should be.
Well, the first time was because he was being a dick to her. The second time was because he was cheating. He was, selling people these faulty cars, and she could see this, and she's just like, no, you deserve to get punished for this.
Yes. I am mingling the two films together.
You are.
I am forgetting which one is which. Yes, and during a shoddy deal, selling one of his bogus cars, he meets Mrs. Trunchbull.
Yep.
And then he's like, all right, fine, I'll put Matilda in school, and I'm going to put her in this crazy bat school. And, yeah, Miss Trunchbull is played by, let's see, she is played by Pam Ferris.
Who is from... she's been in British comedies. I thought you would know, Nicole, since you love
I've
British
not seen
comedies.
any of these British comedies.
Isn't it one like Women of UK or something?
Yeah. No, I mean, I would have seen her in my honorary subscription to Women of UK magazine, but I guess I didn't look at this last edition. She's in shows called Connie, The Darling Buds of May, Where the Heart Is, Rosemary and Thyme, and Call the Midwife. And
Rosemary and Thyme.
Oh, you know that show?
I do know that show. Eddie, do you know that show? I feel like you've told me about that show. Yeah, there you go. You see, Rosemary and Thyme. I feel like it was also referenced on Arrested Development. Also, I think.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. And but no. Yeah. Whoever this lady is, one of the most, if not the most memorable part of this film.
Absolutely.
I would say her, and then Rhea Perlman's style.
Yeah.
Would be the things that,
and her curls.
That resonate. Yeah.
Yeah. Talk about a performance and talk about disappearing in the costume. Agatha Trunchbull she's abusive. She's cruel. She is herself a child neglector. Well, not even neglect, just abuser at the school that she's the headmistress of. And she's a former Olympian athlete.
She has like this motto of like, no, children shouldn't exist.
Pretty much. She just like despises them, yeah. And she gets off on power tripping over them and exerting her authority over them. A big line that is used frequently by adults in this is kind of like, I'm big, you're small. I'm dumb, I'm smart, you're dumb. I'm right and you're wrong. Mm-hmm. And it's very much about people who abuse power in that sense. Okay, so we got themes of abuse of power and punishment. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we just, now that she attends school, she finds kind of like a happy place. She makes friends like the adorable Lavender.
Lavender doesn't have the pigtails. The blonde girl has the pigtails.
Yes, the blonde. Yeah, no, Lavender was with the glasses. I think that's Amanda.
Maybe. I don't remember the names. I could tell you she's blonde and she has glasses also. Yeah. She gets like tossed by her pigtails outside.
Yes.
Then there's Bruce, the chunky kid, who
He's gluttonous.
Yeah. Well, is he glutton? He ate a slice of... Who doesn't like a slice of chocolate? I don't.
It's very Wonka-ish, you know, where it's like, oh, you're a kid who likes to eat. Well, eat this whole fucking cake, you glut little, like, I don't know. Roald Dahl must not like fat children.
maybe he is fat phobic. Who knows?
Maybe.
Or was. He's dead. He's been dead for like 33 years. He is... No, but the scene with Bruce eating that cake, like, I grew up thinking I was allergic to chocolate, but like in retrospect, I also have disgust of chocolate because that chocolate cake looked vile.
Yeah,
it looked so gross. He's eating it. It looked like, I mean, now as an adult, looking at him, I'm just like, that looks like straight up just shit that he's eating. Yeah, and it is such a vile scene in my opinion. And I just forgot the hilarity that ensues when, like, he finishes, he's cheering, and she just breaks that plate over this kid's head. I'm just like, oh my god! Like,
yeah. The visual effects are successful. Like, that cake looks disgusting.
It's a horrific scene, the way it's like shot and everything. You know what I mean? It felt very horror-esque.
It does, yeah. Again, expressionistic, you know, like, is a good word to describe it. Like, there's that scene where we're introduced to the cops who are under surveillance.
Paul Rubens.
Yeah, right? And we see Paul Rubens, but we first see his camera, which is like this huge, you know, lens that's sticking right at the camera. And then when you put it down and you see who it is, it's a nice little reveal. And you know that, like, if there was any question about what kind of mood or what kind of movie you were watching, enter Paul Rubens. It's a comedy. So, who is Pee Wee Herman?
Yes. In case you didn't know.
Yes. Miss Trunchbull also likes to put people in a thing called chokey, which is a small closet that is similar to an Iron Maiden. So it's pretty much got like all these nails sticking out.
Yeah, like there's nails on the door. You have to basically stand absolutely still or you'll die.
Yes. Basically. It's terrifying. Yeah, like where are all the other parents? We know that Matilda's parents don't care, but apparently nobody's parents care.
No, it's not that they don't care. It's like one of the girls said, what if you tell your parents, like, are they going to believe you? Like, this sounds absolutely insane.
I mean, I guess so.
And that's the thing. It's just like, because parents here are oblivious, I think, to the horrors that children experience. I think that's also part of the thing that's kind of lurking in the story.
Yeah. Not also adults are kind of, yeah.
Adults are the ones that are oblivious to the pains of children, right? Because that's also in Mrs. Honey's kind of storyline.
Yes, because Mrs. Honey, even though she's an adult, you know, she's got a lot of childhood trauma that she's still going through.
Right.
Which makes her kind of an honorary child, I guess. Mm-hmm. Miss Honey is the teacher of Matilda. She's the only kind adult, and she herself was kind of raised and abused by Miss Trunchbull. So she's very much like the mirror reflection for Matilda. And, you know, spoiler alert, at the end, she gets adopted by her. What did you think about their relationship?
I mean, I think it started off hot and heavy with that scene where, like, she's reading the math scene. It's like, even as a kid, I was just like, wow, this is like a weird reaction she's having to this,
right?
To this child who's just saying math. And now as an adult, I'm just like, yeah, this is still not creepy. It's not like, I don't think it's not by any means sexual or anything, but like, it is a little jarring. I think is just like the long pauses, yes. Like the staring or something.
Yes, I'm so glad you said it, because I remembered that as a child, and upon rewatch, it just all came flooding back, where I was just like, there's something kind of uncomfortable about their relationship, and it's like none of it is quite inappropriate, but it just feels weird.
It does feel weird.
Yeah, like it feels like the adult in particular is playing it like a love scene.
That's the thing. It does feel well, and you know It is, right? It is still love at first sight. It's just almost like a mother-daughter love.
Yes.
At first sight kind of thing. So like I understand the filmmaking technique trying to go with that. It just does feel weird.
It does, yeah.
But have you ever seen the someone made an edit of that scene, but like edited to like RuPaul's Drag Race music and like kind of like cutaways. So like I think when she's like talking about reading, you know, like reading someone, they had like the that little noise that happens like when she says like the math equation and stuff. It's hilarious. If I track it down, I'm gonna like post
it to me, yeah.
I'll send it to you. I'll see if I can share the link because I think it's on YouTube. But it's a good little like clip that I kept thinking about when rewatching this scene.
I mean, story-wise, the rest of the story is pretty much that, like, Matilda cannot, like, free herself from the prison of her own life until she helps Miss Honey free her. Or, like, helps Miss Honey free herself. And then they can be freed together. And then Miss Honey does adopt her and whatnot.
Right, because, I mean, the thing that's happening here is we find out that Miss Trunchbull stole Miss Honey's house in this, like, you know, because she was, like, her evil step-aunt. Mm-hmm. And may have potentially killed Mrs. Honey's father in order to keep the house.
Yes.
It's kind of dark.
It is kind of dark. Which also, apparently that picture of Magnus is a picture of Roald Dahl.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
That's actually funny. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Maybe that should have gone into the fire in retrospect.
Seriously. Well, everything with Miss Trunchbull is very dark, you know, but it's effectively, like, they do a good job with making it kind of kid-friendly and playing it off as humor. Although, like, you know, if you think about the stuff that used to be geared to children and how dark it often was, from, like, Gremlins to Witches to Matilda, and you see the stuff that we're giving children now, which is Minions, and I guess Puss in Boots and Lyle Lyle Crocodile, it's just like, wow, we were, like, the last kind of generation that, you know, didn't have their children films kind of watered the fuck down.
I don't know. I think no, because I think you just gave some like really, you know, childish like properties, but like I think the truth is like for children's programming, maybe more so programming, there's a lot more. The content is a lot heavier, I think, than like I've ever experienced in my own childhood. And I don't mean like heavy in the, it's not necessarily, it's like dark, almost like realistically heavy, some stuff that like they put in kids show that I'm like kind of sometimes not taken aback, maybe sometimes taken aback, not because of it's like how heavy it is, but it's just like, oh wow, like this is really mature stuff to be handing kids. One of these shows that like Eddie watched was like the Infinity Train, for example, right? That was a kids show, and that shit was like fucking dark and heavy, and I'm like, this is almost like an adult program that they have here, right? It's not, by no means, I'm not talking about anything violent. I'm not talking about anything like sexual. It's just like the themes that they're exploring for a kids program was like really heavy stuff. And I think actually we're in an age where like kids programming, and I say programming because like maybe movies, I think you might be right, maybe movies are a little bit more like childish, but like the stuff that's being geared towards kids, I think, is like way more emotionally heavy than it's ever been in the past. And I think that's actually a good thing, though, like to have kids kind of explore some of these feelings that like maybe they don't know how to express.
Yeah, no, that sounds like interesting stuff that they are doing. I guess it also depends on the age. But I guess back then too, you know, more often like it would be more acceptable to show your 3 or 4 year old Gremlins than it probably would be to show your 3 or 4 year old that now.
I don't know. I feel like my friends have kids who are like in that age group now when they're showing up those movies.
Well, that's awesome. I mean, rock on, kids. But I guess they're just like, they're not releasing those films for like 4 or 5 year olds or whatever. But again,
we're just not seeing it because like the media landscape is so different now of how we consume media.
It's so different, yeah.
So like maybe they're just maybe more of those movies are just showing up on like Netflix or direct to streaming that like parents find them to just sit their kids down. It might be.
Thing.
I mean, that's the problem with like the way we consume media now. It's just like there's so much of it. It's so niche, you know, like not everyone watches the same thing.
For sure. But the way that they direct the scene where, you know, Miss Trunchbull is kind of like being confronted by the ghost of Magnus, which is just Matilda fucking with her.
With her telekinetic powers.
With her telekinetic powers is actually like you said, it's dark, but it's so like well shot.
It is.
And like practical effects up the wazoo, just impressively done. Like I was reading how they did a bunch of those practical effects. Like, you know how they wrote the chalk on the chalkboard was that somebody was standing behind it with a magnet.
Oh, really? That's so funny. I didn't know that.
And that's how they pulled the chalk, and that's how they wrote it out. And I think they had to, like, I mean, I would assume they would have to learn how to spell backwards or something.
Right. I could spell backwards, but... And then you have to make it look like a kid's handwriting. So
that too, yeah. Fine. But it's still really cool.
I love those scenes, but I think my favorite sequence is actually the Trunch hunting down Matilda and Miss Honey in her house. When like they're playing like the cat and mouse game, because that one it felt like a suspense film. Like it went from like being this like kids movie to all of a sudden like we're like in Terminator.
Yes,
you know what
yes.
I mean? Like,
yeah, and he does a great line too with like, you know, it's reality, but it's also like very much fantasy. You know, like when she looks under the table and then Matilda's like holding on to like the top of it and stuff, which is like it's unrealistic, but you buy it because of the whole way this movie has been established.
it felt very karate-ish, like something you would see in like a action film.
Yes. Okay.
And I mean, look, Danny DeVito directed the shit out of this film.
He did a great job.
Yeah. And like in retro, like watching this as an adult, I'm just like, oh, this movie it still holds up. It's wonderful.
The set pieces are great.
Mm-hmm.
Costumes are great. Performances are good. Yeah.
Yeah. I think propped up mostly by the Trunch. The Trunch is just absolutely great.
Yeah.
Character
just disappeared in that costume. Disgusting. Vile. Yeah, she's great.
But so fun to watch.
So fun, yeah.
Just absolutely. She just goes like, and the more unhinged she becomes, like the more like you just like in it. Like it's just so good.
Yes. And it took me like this long to realize that song that they kept using in it, like that. Yeah, that one. I was like, wow, this guy's really saying nothing. Like I don't think I ever realized growing up that he was just kind of like
I think he's saying like on my way,
just different. But then like when he starts like singing,
is it him singing? I thought it was someone else.
Maybe somebody else. Whoever's singing, I was just like, wow, they're really not saying anything. I mean, it's fine, but
what were the lyrics?
That's the thing. I can't remember because I don't even think that they were saying like real words. And I was like, wow, this is used for such a poignant moment in the movie.
It's a song for the song. I still remember that song though.
I remember. Oh my gosh, I hear that song. It takes me back to the 90's. It's so crazy. Is there anything else that you want to talk about before we move on?
Yes, the parents get arrested is the implication.
Yes. Okay.
And before Ms. Honey adopts them. But I think actually, even as a kid, that scene made me... It was a bittersweet scene even as a kid because the mom says to her, like, all I ever wanted was a daughter.
Now.
And then she signs on the adoption papers, and then the narrator goes, like, that's the nicest thing they ever did for her. I was just like, it's tragic. It's so tragic.
Yeah, it is.
You know what
I mean? I mean, she doesn't really have any, like, emotional arc with her up until that moment. And it is actually kind of nice that they give her something because a lot has happened with, you know, the father.
The dad, yeah.
So they kind of have their own closure, but it's also like, wow, okay, thanks, Mom. And wow, way to keep those adoption papers just waiting, you know, waiting for the right moment to say Mom and Dad.
It's when they're going to get arrested by the FBI that, like, yeah. I think that is the right time.
Now, how do we feel about the fact that her teacher adopted her? Like, I don't know, is that like appropriate?
I don't know. I grew up on, you know, Boy Meets World. Mr. Turner tried to adopt Sean Hunter, so I guess it's okay. It's a thing that happened in the 90's, I guess.
A lot in the 90's.
He was trying to. No. There were paperwork. That was a fight they had before the accident. That, like, he never signed off on the paperwork. And then he got in a motorcycle accident.
Then we never saw Mr. Turner.
Then we never saw him again.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I guess it's fine, you know, in a movie. You know, but children should just not grow up thinking. I might have grown up thinking like, hey, my teachers are my friends. It's like, no, they're not my friends. They're my...
I don't know. I don't know
teachers.
That I've ever had a relationship as close as like Matilda had with Miss Honey growing up.
Yeah, well, no. Yeah, I mean.
I feel like, because the truth, I mean, let's be very real. Like, most teachers want to get the fuck out of Dodge as soon as like class is over, right? Like,
yeah.
Like, you want to go on an adventure with me? Hard pass, kid. I'll see you tomorrow. You know?
Yeah, but other than that, I mean, I thought it held up pretty damn well.
It's better than I remember it.
Yeah,
I remember, like, you know, I remember the movie fondly, right? But you know, as we were going to cover the property, I just think it's like, how much of that is like nostalgia, right? Like, it's nostalgia. But then I'm watching it, I'm just like, no, this is a wonderful film. I actually think
creatively made. Yeah,
it might be the second best Roald Dahl like film. of the Past.
Oh, what's the first?
I think Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. I prefer.
Oh,
It's a way more fun movie.
And it's a musical.
I'm aware.
Wow.
As
Speaking
is the
of
next
musicals.
adaptation. Yeah.
So in 2011, there was a stage musical by.
It came out in 2011. I feel like it came out like 5 years ago.
It came out 2011. So I mean, at least on the West End first, and then hit the Broadway stage, with music by Tim Minchin. And I do believe Matthew Warchus, who directed the movie, also did work or is like very much a part of the history of the stage play. Mm-hmm. Yeah, screenplay written by Dennis Kelly. So all these people worked on the musical on the stage, and they worked on this Netflix film. And it's so funny too because it begins with TriStar, which is also like TriStar is so 90s with like the horse with the Columbia like co-feature. So when I saw that TriStar came on at the beginning of this film, I was like, oh my God, they're really doing a deep reference to that original. I think the original Matilda the musical did not win the Tony Award for Best Musical. It won the Tony Award for the Best Book of a Musical. So like the score won.
Okay.
And I think it
Was
won
the music
Olivier.
Is the music from this movie the same as the musical numbers in the musical?
Yes, I think the one song that might have been written for the film is the ending song. Okay. But I have heard these songs from the stage play. I never saw the stage play, but
I'm surprised. I wanted to take my mom to see it.
I wanted to too. I never got around to it either.
And then it got off stage, and I'm like, all right, well, all right.
Yeah.
Bye.
But this film actually opened in the UK in the theaters. So like this, and it took in about £5 million.
Wow. Considering it's a Netflix. I mean, again, they have to. I'm surprised it hasn't played in the U.S. I guess they're trying to go after some BAFTAs.
Maybe
because of the rules, like you need to screen your movie in theaters for a couple of weeks, I think, in order to qualify for like the major awards. The BAFTAs would be out there in England, so
yes,
that's my suspicion. I
could be, or at least for something like original song or something, because I do believe that ending song was not in the original musical.
Yeah, they might be trying to score like an award there.
I think so.
Were you shocked as I was when they were all talking in British accents?
I was too.
Yeah, I was like,
wait, this is British?
Whoa. This is a British film.
Yeah.
And then I remember asking Eddie, like, Eddie, is Roald Dahl British? And Eddie looked at me like, how the fuck would I know? Like, so that was jarring thing number one. Yeah, I knew, obviously, it's called Matilda the Musical, so I was well aware it was going to be a musical. So I kind of was already like, ugh. But, all right, let's get into it.
Okay. So, story is the same. Matilda is a neglected young girl who is mistreated by her parents. You remember that line in The Breakfast Club where Emilio Estevez talking to Ali Sheedy, and he's like, so what do your parents do? Do they beat you? Do they call you names? And Ali Sheedy goes, they ignore me. And it's just such a crushing moment of that film, because like all of them are like bitching about their lives, and like here she is being totally neglected by her parents. Child neglect is probably the worst form of abuse. Or, I mean, all forms of abuse are fucking terrible.
I don't know. I could name like two that are worse. Literal
but like neglect
and sexual abuse, I would argue, which is like, I don't know. Those are pretty more traumatic.
Those are, all forms of abuse are terrible, of course.
Yeah.
I guess child neglect.
Nicole?
I'm not ranking them. But the emotional damage that it does to someone is just, it's pretty, as most abuse is irreversible. And it like really felt way more harsh in this movie.
Yes, it did.
I agree.
Yeah,
I think
totally.
In
almost the moments where I felt uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Watching certain scenes.
Because in the 1996 film, Matilda had a nice room. Like she at least had a room.
She got to go to the library.
She got to go to like a pretty decent library. She had kind of access to the house.
Huge library, decent library.
Yeah, and she actually got to go to a library. It's stuck in an attic here. These British people, man, sticking Harry Potter under the cupboard, sticking her in the attic. What is up with British people really neglecting their children? And can't even go to like the big library. She like meets this woman with a school bus, I guess, or like a library bus.
I actually love that idea, to be quite honest.
Yeah, I love this.
I loved her.
I love this. Yeah, I love the character, the introduction of this character, and having like this mobile, like, this mobile library, and her like, kind of like being a friend to Matilda.
Yes.
Yeah.
Although full disclosure, she just disappears.
I know. I was like, wait a minute.
I was just like, oh wait, we don't see her again. Like after like the story time.
I know. When they were like,
at the point, I'm just like, I liked her.
When they were like chilling at the end and they were like lying down reading books, I'm like, they're by the trailer that they painted. I guess, fuck her. They don't need her anymore. But I loved her outfits. She was great. And she would have been a great guardian, actually. Teaching Matilda lessons that no other adult was teaching her up to that point. So I liked that character. Do we remember her name?
I don't off the top of my head.
I think Mrs. Phelps.
Maybe.
And the role was played by Sindhu V. And yeah. She's actually a stand-up comedian.
Oh,
that actress
tracks. I can see that.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I thought it was a wonderful,
wonderful addition.
Yes, it was like a nice little breath of fresh air. Although, I complain about musicals, right? They have to have something to wow me. Either like the music itself or the music, like the dance numbers. I will say this one had sometimes both going on for it. I think some of the dance sequences were like absolutely well choreographed,
so
and like
good.
Shot very, very well to the point where like you're moving with the action. I was just like, oh, this is. There were times where it was great. It was just a great time to watch.
Yeah.
I took up a bet with Eddie when they introduced the Trunch. And he was just like, that's this actress, and then he says who it was, and I was just like, no way, that's not her. I bet him $5 that it was not Emma Thompson, and I owed Eddie $5 because it was Emma Thompson, and I'm just like, no way, because she also just disappeared into the role, in my opinion. I had no idea it was her.
Yeah.
I don't know. Did you?
That must be fun.
I mean,
I knew it was
Noah
her
had told
because...
If Noah had told you that was Emma Thompson, would you have known?
Good point. I don't know if I can think like that since I knew it the whole time.
I
think I might have. I think I might have.
I don't,
her eyes are pretty distinctive.
I don't even know who Emma Thompson really is.
Well,
I know
she was one of the best parts of Cruella.
Oh, see
that's how I remember.
That's right.
Her.
That's how
I remember.
I also had no idea that was Emma Thompson in Cruella.
I mean, she just shows up in a lot of stuff, but
she was great. She
did good.
Yeah,
she
was a good trudge, and she had a great musical number.
She did.
She's in Love Actually.
She is in Love Actually. Yeah. I mean, she's in so much.
She's a lot of stuff.
Yeah. So the film opens up with a musical number of all these parents who adore their children at the ICU.
All the futures that they can be.
Yeah, right? And then we meet the Wormwoods, who are just in denial about the fact that they're even pregnant. And then they have Matilda. They don't have another son. It's just only child Matilda. And they're just miserable about it.
Yes.
And these two are very different from the Danny DeVito Rhea Perlman pair. Like, they were hilariously or like very comically checked out and just wanted to watch TV.
Yes.
There's not that much funny about. I mean, like, it's comedic, but like it's very darkly comedic because they're very like vain. They're very self-consumed and just terrible to this child.
They really are.
So this is what I found. That's what I found so cringy about their whole parenting. Their scenes was because when they were verbally, emotionally abusive towards her, it hit harder.
Yeah.
Than it would have been Danny DeVito or Rita Perlman.
Yeah, no, for sure.
It just hit. There was nothing comical about their delivery. It felt so. It felt so like it felt harsh. It felt a tad darker when he ripped her book. Mm-hmm. Okay, you know how you feel about books and ripping books and writing in books and library books especially, and how You're supposed to guard library books. But when he ripped it, I just felt I just had I had trauma resurface.
Yeah.
Just trauma resurface, just seeing that. And when he threw her in her bedroom, when he threw her in the attic and just left her there on the floor, I just felt like, oh my God, this is not a kid's. This is, and then what I found funny was some of these scenes were kind of some of these scenes would be kind of covered in this beautiful music, or very cheery, or very kind of funny kind of music, right? But I was like, this kind of feels disjointed because these scenes are really harsh, and it's really showing child abuse.
Yeah.
For me, I felt this is child abuse, and here we're gonna sing this very nice little melody. So
yeah, no, for sure. I mean, you could almost say that the Danny DeVito and Rio Perlman, they were just fucking idiots. They were greedy little idiots. But these guys, these are cruel parents, and downright being abusive. It's funny because when he starts ripping up the book, it's comedic because he can't do it. And, and his whole manhood's at play, and his wife is watching, and she's looking at him like, are you going to fucking do it and be a man? And so, you find the comedy in just how terrible that they are. And, and that's, I applaud the actors for understanding that about, the complications, the complexities of these people that they're playing, how feeble-minded they are and how shallow they can be. But yeah, the actual abuse is pretty terrible, especially a little later on when she's, in the middle of telling the story that she's kind of dreamt up of an escapologist. Is that what she called it?
Escapologists.
Escapologists.
Which is just an escape artist.
Yes. So this is also interesting. And, sometimes I would just envision how they did it on the stage, and I thought it was really interesting. Conversely, with the story happening, Matilda to Mrs. Phelps of the library bus is telling the story that she's made up about these two I can't say it.
One was a escapologist. Yeah, I think one of them was the escapologist. The other one was
acrobat.
Yes, he was just.
Yes.
An acrobat.
Okay. One of them was escapologist. One of them is acrobat. They were in love, but they couldn't have a child.
Yes.
And they kept just doing, because of their boredom with their lives without a child, they kept, pushing and pushing and pushing their stunts until they came up with the most death-defying stunt. But then, of course, right when they're about to do it, she finds out she's pregnant. But the evil sister-in-law, holds them to their contract. Stepsister. Stepsister-in-law holds them to their contract and says, you must do it. You guys, you have a contract to fulfill. And they do it, but at the risk of the acrobat breaking every bone in her body and being able to give birth to her child, but at the risk of, pretty much sacrificing her own life. Mm-hmm. And then as we're learning the story in bits and pieces and whatnot, we kind of learn, surprise, surprise, this is actually Miss Honey's backstory.
Right.
But that one scene where Matilda gets home, criticizes her father because he's a crook, and then he throws her and she, falls on the floor, and then she goes right back to her story. And it's conversely when the father, the escapologist, finds out that his daughter is being abused by the sister-in-law, and they sing that song. Oh my God. So emotional. I was dying.
Oh, you want to hear
watching
awful?
That. Were you laughing?
No, this is a point of the movie where I was drunk asleep, I thought. So, I think, did we watch this on New Year's Eve?
Yeah, it was New Year's Day. New Year's Eve to New Year's Day. We started on New Year's Eve.
And then carried it into okay. And I was I was very, very buzzed and tired because we had a long day.
Yeah.
And so I was this is a point of the film when I knocked out. So when I had to pick back up where we left off, because Eddie finished it without me. Eddie was enthralled with the film because he actually finished it. I was drunk asleep on the couch, but I went back to I had to rewind a little bit, and I'm just oh my God, yeah, that scene was great. But I thought it was I was just what I can't believe this is the part where I fell asleep because after that's also the turning point of the film, because I think after that the entire film feels so magical. It's so, the film itself was great, but I think it was after that point where the we actually start seeing more of her abilities, and we start actually getting into the meat of the Trunchbull terror show.
Yes, because before that too, like when she goes to school, there's kind of like 2 back-to-back the kids at school musical numbers that for me were kind of interchangeable. I'm like, oh, we're doing another song.
The ABCs one I thought
was
great.
cool. Yeah,
that was
a
good one.
Yeah,
and I love the horrible spelling, but like it worked. Like
I mean, lyrically was so smart. But then I can't remember what the other song was. Also, the song that Matilda sings, where it's like, just because you find that life's not fair, that is just lyrically. I mean, I think really that this guy, Tim Minchin, who wrote the music and lyrics, his true power is in his lyrical abilities. Because I was thinking about you. I was wondering if you would like this film or not, Rolando, because for you, you kind of want to walk out humming a song. And I was like, well, these songs aren't that hummable.
Most hummable, but the lyrics, I would agree with you. The lyrics are good. And
like, amazing.
That would be enough. Like, I mean, the Trunch's number of, like, quelling rebellions, I think is just like, what a fantastic number, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like, I love where the 1996 film is really about punishments and stuff, right? This one is more so about rebellion than punishment, right? Because in this one, we see Matilda act out in a more rebellious way. Despite the fact that she's doing the same things that she did in the 1996 film, the way they're carried out are very different. Here, she's not punishing... She's not punishing her parents for what they're doing to her. Here she's just rebelling. She's rebelling, and she's in this case getting revenge. Right?
Yeah.
And it's her outspokenness though that is what drives the Trunch mad. The Trunch wants order, as most fascists do. And so now you have one outspoken person who can lead almost a revolution, as happens. I think it was great storytelling, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
I think it was wonderful, and that's why I actually enjoyed the Trunchbull's like number. I thought it was like, I thought like her trying to like squash this rebellion was like great.
Yeah. Well, this Matilda was also like, let's take no prisoners. She was like often like, stay away from Trunchbull. She's dangerous. So am I. Like really like out for blood. But like I appreciated it too. And that like that line that she kept repeating, like, just because you find yourself in this story doesn't mean that everything is like, if like pretty much saying something like if you give up, you're pretty much saying that you think that it's okay. And that's not right. If you don't think it's okay, you have to write your own story. So it is kind of like this, message of revolt, like if you don't like something, do something about it, don't just conform or give up, which is I'm down with that fucking message. Like, hell yeah.
I mean, it's a message. I hate to say it, but the way our politics is going, it's kind of a message we need to use, right?
No, absolutely.
And it's one that the younger generations, including millennials, is taking to, right? Because I think a lot. I just saw a report saying that like this generation and younger are not, how like historically the older you get, the more conservative you end up leaning. Not the case going on with millennials and younger. We're seeing actually quite the opposite. We're sticking to our more liberal belief systems and stuff.
Yeah. Well, I mean, come on. Can you blame some people for not wanting to turn over to the side that's, removed certain rights from us?
And I think it's it's one of these things, like in media, like I think a lot of like YA stuff has kind of been leaning heavily towards like this idea of like standing up against the oppressors and stuff, and like this kind of just ends up fitting into that mold. But I think it was, I thought it was like kind of wonderfully done,
I mean the revolting children number, when like Bruce, him dancing. Like, and that shot of them in the hallway, I was like, oh, these are children?
They were great. Did they give Bruce a fat suit?
I don't know. Well, I also was wondering how old he was. Because like, he moves way too well.
Well, he was... So that's the thing. So he was... I think after he ate all that chocolate, I think they gave him a fat suit. Like something to like kind of chunk up his like midsection. Because it looked weird, in my opinion. I hope I'm not giving him body dysmorphia. That's not my goal. I'm just asking a genuine question. Like, why give him a fat suit?
Yeah.
If they did it, oh, I'm sorry. I guess.
I don't know. I wonder.
Did you see the TikTok edit of that dance number, but edited to Missy Elliott's "Lose Control"?
Oh no! Send it to me.
It matches beat to beat. It syncs up perfectly.
Yeah.
That dance number to Sierra and Missy Elliott's "Lose Control." It is a good number, but another number that does also come to mind though was the chocolate eating number. I don't remember the lyrics and stuff, but I think visually it was another. I thought it was a beautiful like set piece and stuff.
Yeah, I thought that was good too. Actually, one of my favorite songs that I thought was done okay is a song called "When I Grow Up," because it's all the different children that you meet talking about what their lives are going to be like when they grow up, and their ideas of what it is when you're an adult is sometimes very funny, and then also sometimes very like, oh, I feel kind of called out on my behavior, because it's like, I won't be afraid of the monster under the bed, is one of the lyrics, or I'll get to eat candy all day. But it's also like, when I grow up, I'm not going to be afraid, and I'm going to be able to like be the person that I want to be. So like lyrically, it's such a strong song. But I thought that the visuals, because this movie is heavily CGI'd, right? It kind of has to be. Yeah, and a lot of the time it uses it pretty well, especially when Matilda's telling the story and them going back and forth with her being like in the world that she's telling. Really just like, they went to 11 with the filmmaking, with the sets, with the costumes, with the CGI. But that scene I thought was actually kind of like, it didn't focus on the sentimentality of the song as much as I wanted it to. Up until when it gets to Miss Honey and you hear Miss Honey sing that song and you hear, how kind of emotionally stunted she is and how she feels the same way about growing up because she's, fucked up.
Yeah. I remember which that number now?
Miss Honey. What'd you think about this Miss Honey?
I liked her.
So she's more of a cowering, simpering person, and I think that worked for me better in this movie.
I was gonna say, it's just like, I don't know. If I had to pick either two Miss Honeys, it's just like, can I have neither?
I want to be raised by Mrs. Phelps.
I was gonna say I was gonna be raised by Miss Trunchbull. I agree with her.
Oh god.
She won me over by the end. I wasn't sure at first. Like, it was like, because it was like, I had to get used to like not seeing the other Mrs. Honey, I guess, right? The Trunch, for some reason, like, that was an easy sell because it felt visually almost exact. Like, there were certain points where I'm just like, there's no way it's the same actress. Like, there's just no way she could be doing this role again. I asked that. That's when we got into an argument about Emma Thompson. But, I think this one, I thought she was wonderful. I thought she was sweet. We also see she is actually more involved from the beginning of Matilda's life earlier than the other Mrs. Honey. Right?
Yes, because she's like, the one who encourages her to go to school.
Right. She brings like the authorities, I think, to the house to get her to go to school. So yeah, it's she was sweet.
Yeah, she popped out more as a character. She seemed more fleshed out. And their relationship was stronger. And also, I thought that the girl who played Matilda was great. Her name is Alicia Weir. And I think they must have shown her Carrie or something, because she was giving me a hardcore Sissy Spacek.
Of course, yes. There were certain scenes that I was just like, am I watching Carrie?
Yes, right? Towards the end.
Carrie? Yeah.
Yeah.
Very much Carrie vibes. And I told this to Rolando, so it's like, yeah, I loved it. And I was like, there were moments where I was like uncomfortable because I was like, this is not a kid's moment.
Yeah.
And even her Alone song, too.
The quiet song. Mm-hmm.
The quiet song. I felt that was too. That was like for me, I know.
Is that the song where like she's getting yelled at?
Yeah, and then she puts her head in the clouds.
So
I was thinking, I remember this like moment of detachment in my own life when I realized that I didn't have to deal with shit from adults, and having that moment of detachment of like, you know what, I don't have to be here mentally.
Yeah.
I don't have to be here. And
checking out, yeah.
This is a interesting checking out moment, you know?
Mm-hmm. So. No, I thought it was great.
Yeah, and the sound editing on that moment was also really great because you had the music going on, but like when you still had the Trunch like underneath screaming and stuff, like the way they had it mixed, it was great. I thought it was such an effective thing. I was very, very shocked how much I came out enjoying this film. Like I did not.
I'm so happy to hear it.
Yeah. No, I thought this film was great. It actually, and even in watching it in the reverse, I was just like, "Ooh, this is gonna be a hard one to pick." Like, you know how even if we did a lightning round, I'm like, "This is gonna be a hard one."
Yeah,
we still can because it's hard. All right, let's get into it. We'll do.
Well, hold on. I just one last thing I want to say about her performance as Matilda though is just rewind. When you do those close-ups of Mara Wilson, you know, like she's always smiling, and like this is like her telekinetic powers is enjoyable for her. You know, it's fun. It's fun in games. They directed her completely differently in this movie. It's almost like this physical strain on her, but like she's accessing something very deep and somewhat dark within her. And I just appreciated that this film explored. Sorry, I'm stuttering all over the place today, guys. But this film really did explore what, you know, the psychosis is for someone who's going through all these things. And again, Miss Honey was more fully fleshed out. Trunchbull was about the same. The parents were just more realistically terrible, but Matilda herself, you know, like more believable, angrier, and just out for blood. But I appreciated that. So
yeah.
All right, yeah, let's do a lightning round.
Yes, let's go for it. Lightning round. Okay, Matilda. Oh wait, no. Do you want to go reverse order?
Yeah,
like
let's do the parents.
All right,
Wormwoods.
Let's go parent.
All right, so I mean, should we break them up by father and mother?
Sure, let's go. Let's do the mom first.
Okay, Rhea Pearl.
Perlman, I'm gonna go with Rhea Pearlman too. Only maybe because of that scene at the end of her film where we got a little bit of warmth.
We got nothing from this mother the whole movie.
She was kind of malicious, I think.
Yeah. And just like the wallpaper to the father. You know, the father was more like the perpetrator. And then he kind of gets redeemed at the end because she removes the hat off him. I'm like, but why? He's a fucking asshole.
He is. So, all right, which brings up the next one, the dad.
I'm going to have to go with Danny DeVito.
So I'm actually going to go with the father because they gave her... Yeah, they gave her the mother scene, basically, of letting the child go as like the only act of kindness that they give. Despite the fact that I do love Danny DeVito in the role, I think this one, the father being so much more vicious, and even though I agree with you, I don't know where that like sentimentality came from at the end. I did enjoy that. I liked it. So it felt like an arc. So I'll go with the new dad.
Mrs. Honey.
I'm going to go with the new Mrs. Honey.
Absolutely.
What's her name? Is it...
The actress? Lashana Lynch.
Yeah, she was great. I thought she was wonderful as Mrs. Honey.
Isn't she like all over the MCU?
Yeah, she is.
Who is she?
Captain Marvel. Not Captain... Captain Marvel. She's Monica...
Rambeau's daughter?
Maria Rambeau.
Mother.
Oh, she's the mother.
She's the mother.
Oh, wow. You know... Makeup and hair and costume.
She's also a Bond girl. She's also
she was in No Time to Die. That's right.
It's hard for me to like look past like that those flowery dresses that she was wearing. I'm just like, who is she?
Well, she was in The Woman King.
The Woman King, yes.
Okay, I haven't seen that, but okay, yeah, I love. She was great.
Yeah. Miss Trunchbull.
That's the one I was going to give you the most difficulty. I don't have it. I think it's a draw for me on this one. I think I enjoyed both performances so well. I think the terror that comes from the 1996 version is a little more palpable, but some of like the musical number for Emma Thompson in the new one kind of wins me over a little bit on her performance, and also then like her evil plan of like revealing all the chokies and stuff. I was just like, I don't know, this is a draw. Like, they're both so strong, they're both so good.
I mean, I agree, but I do think that the original Mrs. Trunchbull, just the level that she entered that film in, I think that she's the one that like set that bar that Emma Thompson had to live up to. And she did, but she had great musical numbers to help her with that. Whereas, like, the original kind of set it. And she's disgusting. She's so disgusting. And it's hard. It's, like, rare for me to feel such a visceral reaction especially when it's like purely comedy and stuff, and I am just appalled by her. I think she's great. She embodied it. And yeah, so Matilda.
I actually might go with new Matilda.
I'm gonna go with new Matilda too.
And like I think is what you pointed out. It's it's her telekinetic powers, like the way they did them. I guess I never was a fan of Mara Wilson's, the way she like kind of just like looking and staring at the screen, kind of annoying in retrospect. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just more complex, more to go with, and heartbreaking. I mean, this child broke my heart in some scenes.
Yeah.
That when she got her a happy ending at the end. So as opposed to the original one, I'm like, okay, this is a little weird, but go for it, Matilda and Miss Honey. And this, I was like, yes, you both deserved it. And that song, Still Holding My Hand, beautiful. I mean, I'm not a parent, so I think if I was a parent, I would have been like full-blown crying. But as an aunt, I was just like, this is really, really sweet. I got to play it for my sister so she could start full-blown crying.
Yeah.
But like it understood, like what it is to have that kind of relationship enter your life and how much it means to you. And I thought it was really, really sweet. And like after all the fucking turmoil that this Matilda went through in this film, for her to have that, I was happy for her, So, yeah, definitely as a 3-act structure, an emotional response, this Matilda, and I think overall maybe this film drew on my heartstrings better. I mean, the first film was so creatively shot and it's fun, but like this one was emotional.
I agree with that summary of like the differences between the two films. I think the first one is so whimsical. I think it's such a charming film, and then you realize it's like Danny DeVito directed that. That's wild.
Yeah, props, man.
And then you compare this one where it's just like, yes, the emotional impact of this film is stronger. I can't. This is one of those interesting ones where it's like I can't necessarily say that one is better than the other. I think these are both two very solid pieces of art.
I agree.
And I don't think it's fair to say that one is better than the other. I think they're both wonderful. I think they're both great. I think I came out shocked. I came out ready to say it's just like this new one's gonna suck so much, and I'm coming out saying it's like it's such a lovely film. I loved it. I might show my mom.
Aw, I love that. I know that Rolando really, really likes something when he's like, I'm going to show it to my mom,
Yeah, because I feel like she is very picky with what she consumes.
So, okay.
I want to show her The Glory first, though. That's.
I don't know. Every time you say The Glory, I expect you to say Whole after it.
So
I know it's not. But...
I know. Yeah, me too. It's a disappointment. Yeah, the one thing I was going to say about the new film that I was a little angry about was at the end when all the kids are singing about the rebellion, the revolting. It was just like, you guys didn't do anything. You didn't do you guys didn't revolt. It was just Matilda and her psychic powers.
But all it takes is that one person to show us it can be done, and then it inspires a revolution.
Oh, what is this, Hamilton?
Matilda Wormwood.
But that was
they call me Matilda Wormwood. Yeah.
But that was a good musical number. That was the dance scenes. The dance sequences were just like intense. Yeah.
It would have been really fun on the stage.
I'm curious as to what it would look like. But I'll send you the clip that syncs up.
Yeah, show me both of those TikToks because there's also one of the Mrs. Honey in the original film on RuPaul's Drag Race. So you got 2 clips you gotta send me.
I'll send them. I'll share them to you. I'll see if I can share them also in the show notes, guys.
Awesome. Tune into the show notes.
Sharing.
Yeah. No, you can share a link. It'll be easy. Thanks for tuning in to our first episode of Remakes, Reboots, Revivals for 2023. Ways that you can wish us a happy new year is by finding us on your podcasting platform, preferably Apple Podcasts, and leaving a rating and a review to let us know how you feel about us. Other ways you can reach out to us is emailing us at remakesrebootsrevivals@gmail.com. Hit us up on Instagram at remakesrebootsrevivals, on Twitter at remakes_podcast. We are also on Facebook and YouTube. Just search for Remakes, Reboots, and Revivals. Do we still have a Google number?
I don't. To be determined.
To be determined.
I had to look into it because apparently it got someone forgot to renew it, and and I gotta just double check. We may still have it, so for now, just email us.
Just email us. But yeah, yeah. All right, cool. Happy New Year. And
Happy New Year.
Yeah, what a nice positive way to kick off the new year.
Yeah, it is. It gives you hope for the stuff that we're covering this year, because I mean, there's already like a full slate of things I think incoming our way.
Yeah.
Some that I don't have any desire. Some that I know we're gonna have to skip because we have so much, I think.
I know. Yeah. No, we're like pretty booked on our calendar, which we should probably go over after recording this. So, all right, guys, tune in next week, and until then, stay original.